Is a DAO?
Sorry.
What is a DAO?
DAO is one of those beautiful buzzwords that the regenerative system loves to use. Our Victor's from.
A DAO is a company, an organization that uses smart contracts, blockchain, so computers and technology to record its agreements instead of the government legal system. But it doesn't matter if you don't know, they're nice people, at least the ones we're inviting.
Yeah.
And it's also I think for everybody who comes to the gathering, there'll be things you don't know. The DAO people have no idea about permaculture, regenerative agriculture, or so this is what I think is a beautiful thing about the gathering. And we had this it's being recorded. I won't use this anecdote, but we've been challenged at how does it all hold together? Regenerative agriculture, leadership, this and that, and all of these different areas. And I think the way it all holds together is that at the core, we all have this regenerative mindset and attitude. We're all here trying to build a new society. And I think for me, my big realization is that nobody has all of the answers, but if not all of the answers are out there. So it's about bringing together the different people, and every area connects with at least some adjoining areas. So in that sense, I think everybody will be learning, and that's also the beauty of it.
Yeah, I was about to say the same, but just to add to that, it's really the beauty. The question you're asking is a representation of that. It's the beauty of getting ourselves actively out of our echo chamber, right? So if I'm working in permaculture, I am probably surrounded by permaculture humans who I resonate with and I share values with. And as beautiful and valuable as it is, it can very quickly turn into just validating our already established world systems or belief systems, right? So getting the permaculture humans in the same room as the crypto humans, in the same room as the everything else, right? Like really covering all angles or all windows that come into that ecosystem or ecosystems is also what we're using to facilitate collaboration and cross-learning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey and Victor. I mean, it sounds amazing. What an opportunity to learn. And I think you put your finger on it, Audrey. When I've been to many of these kind of corporate conferences in the kind of hotels you've described, and of course everyone is presenting a facade, their best self, the best spin on what they're doing. They're all selling something, typically, and what you're offering is the opposite of that. Is actually co-learning how to create a new world. And we're all vulnerable in that process. And I'm very struck that you're saying, if I understood it right, that you're just holding the ring for this. You're just creating the opportunity, and then whatever happens inside of it happens without any official structure, or there's not going to be like an area for talks and an area for dance, and then it's just whatever happens. And yet, what I'm hearing is actually there is a need for a structure. I like structure. I have to admit, I like some structure, like my biggest fuck up type, or a place to show vulnerability, or a place for this, that, and the other in some kind of a program. I'm very struck that you've decided to have no program. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And for reference, I also love structure, and I'm a Virgo projector control freak. But that's why Victor is totally balancing.
Can I speak to that one? Because I have.
Yeah.
So.
Victor. Let me hear Audrey first, if that's all right, because I know you're so articulate. Sure. I'm very interested. She was getting on a roll there.
Okay, I'll make it short. So I'm going to start by describing, we had a lot of conversations where we basically defined what we thought was essential, what we needed to bring to this gathering for it to be as valuable as possible for the people within it. And what we came up with was running water, land, which in nature, obviously all the legal systems and structures around it, security, and what we call a council of the gathering, which will be the sort of governance mechanism, which will be matriarchal, by the way. And what we call for now the pre-gathering, meaning everything that will happen in the lead up to September 2024, between January and September. The pre-gathering overall, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts into it, and I don't want to detail it too much, but the idea of the pre-gathering for me can be summarized in we're creating culture. And as you're saying, it's a lot actually to create a gathering with no program. Like, it's quite risky and it takes some courage, I think. And so what we understand is that so long as we have a shared culture, or at least shared cultures within the camps and shared values, and we can bring our intention to that space collectively and harness our collective intelligence, then I'm personally fully trusting of what's going to happen, and I'm able to let go from that point on. And so this is why we're organizing those meetings as well, right? To already be in a space, even though it's a virtual space, to start sharing this culture and establishing those values that we want to have together. But then in terms of the program, yeah, I go back to what I was saying of, I don't know what I don't know. And in order for me to really learn, I need to be put in a space that can feel very uncomfortable, meaning I need to speak with people that I would never have spoken to in a standard conference or in the streets or in my day-to-day environment. And so we're letting the camps do their thing. And the last thing I will say, and Victor, you can go, is for me, it really relates to this idea of radical responsibility and giving back agency to people. And you can't, I think this is the future. There's no going anywhere without radical responsibility. And in order to do that, either you go for it or you don't, but there's no in between. You know, people are responsible for it or they're not. But yeah, so we're going there.
Thank you. Thanks, Audrey. It's a great answer. I like the black and white nature of it, you know, like you either are or you aren't. Yeah.
In or out.
In or out. So, sorry, Victor, to cut across you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, please, I really, as you know from the experience, when I go on, I can't speak too much. So I'm always grateful when people shut me up. So please never hesitate. I think I would give two parts to your answer, the one around structure. One is very metaphysical, the other one is completely practical. Which one would you like first, metaphysical or practical?
Let's go metaphysical first.
Okay, so they did experiments with bees, because we're like all amazed, bees co-creating, and they're like, how the hell does this emerge? Because, you know, most bees are solitary. I don't know if you knew this, but most bees are solitary. So they, as it turns out, most bees are solitary. We think of the honeybees because they produce shit for us, so they're the ones that are useful to us. But most bees in the wild are solitary. They make little holes in the ground. So they did an experiment, and they put two solitary bees into one hole to see what would happen. And it turned out that they started automatically cooperating, because there are certain things for cleaning the thing, and it's like, oh, it's done, then you don't do it. So there is a, you know, at a much higher, you know, we're not like bees, but, you know, you see what's there, and we'll be like sharing and publishing, and it's everybody to feel into the field and into the ecosystem for what's missing and to add it, as well as to what you want to contribute. And I think the reason that it's important is, and interesting, are you guys there, or did you freeze? Are you?
Yeah.
The reason that I think it's
We're
important,
there.
interesting, is this is how I dream of the ecosystem working through horizontal collaboration, not top down. So just trust. Also, you know, I mean, it's not like I invented this. I went to Burning Man 99, 2000, and I saw the amazing stuff that can happen when you create a culture of co-creation and people just getting on with it. So I know it works because I've seen it work. It's just about directing that co-creative energy, which I've seen, which is incredible, towards the regenerative ethos. So that's the metaphysical answer.
Right.
The completely practical answer is in order to know what's going on and all of this, we're developing the app. So the app will have a live real-time schedule and you can find what's where when. So, and yeah, apps, digital, blah, blah, blah. I don't like it either, but we tried to do the paper physical thing last year with just 250 people. It was a clusterfuck. It didn't work. Nobody enjoyed it. So the app is the only way. And then the question is, how do we create an app which pushes us out of the phone? So we want to design an app that pushes you into real life interaction. So it's a UI UX challenge rather than sucking you into the phone, an app that pushes you out of the phone. But I believe it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that
Great.
answer your question?
So between the two of you, you've convinced me. Thank you.
I have a question. Why do you think GaiaNet was the most amazing camp that was there last time? What about it gave that impression?
Well, first we're recording, and so I don't want to create a hierarchy of which camp was best and which camp was worst.
It's more that I'm trying to learn, not to hurt my ego.
I think
so that I can do it again.
Let me rephrase that. I think it was the most impressive and produced. That doesn't make it better. 3 people
Right.
together in a circle in a tent might have had a better experience than you guys because they were the right people. But in terms of production and like campness, let's say in terms of the campness and like being inspirational. Sorry, Audrey.
Yeah, no, this, I mean, I would say there's 2 elements from having spoken to some GaiaNet camp builders as well. But the first element is that I feel like GaiaNet understood the concept of a camp. First of all, is that you understood that it was a project that you're working on together that requires you to meet every week for, X amount of time beforehand. You understand that you're creating content. And I feel like you understood that you were creating content for yourself as a project to bring yourself to the next level outside of the event, after the event, but also that this was a way for you to put GaiaNet out into the world, right? And place it on the map and get people to come and understand what GaiaNet is about in terms of values. So I felt like there were those 2 elements. And from having spoken to, again, some of your team, I feel, and I'm curious about your perspective, that there was an element of alignment between the people who were in the camp. Meaning I thought it was fascinating how, as you were walking on this land, which was quite big, whenever you met a GaiaNet camp person, you could tell it was a GaiaNet camp person. Honestly, just from like the energy that was around the human, which was super interesting. And it wasn't better or worse than someone else. It was just clearly a GaiaNet person. Because you had like specifically chosen the people who were going to be in your camp, but also because I feel like you were all very much integrated within the energy of those activities that you were co-organizing in the camp, right? So there was this sense of we're all walking together towards this one vision and this one mission that GaiaNet has as a project. This is very much my personal feeling from it, but yeah.
Beautiful reflection. Thank you.
It was
Fascinating.
Something you said there, Audrey, that frightened me a bit, if I can say. No, it's very practical aspect. You were talking about people having to be aware that they might need to meet every week to prepare.
Yes, as I was saying that, I had the feeling of, oh, I shouldn't have said it.
No. I mean, I imagine each camp finds their way of organizing themselves, and it doesn't need to be every week and all that. But there will be a need for some kind of work before in order for everything to be there, especially because you guys don't define a program. Do you define a theme, for example?
So, very good question. Victor, you want to jump in?
So I've been thinking in the long run it would be nice to have like the question of the gathering, but we haven't defined it for this year. I mean, Connect for Action is the guiding thing. Is it the theme? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. And then another thing, I had a conversation actually with some people yesterday. The way to think of the camp building, or one way to think of camp building, which can be really useful and not feel overwhelming, is it's a leadership development lab. So if you're the project leaders, it shouldn't be you leading the camp. Find somebody that has energy for the thing and let them lead it, because it's a way for them to become more involved, to contribute to your community in a way that's like, bounded. It's meaningful and it's a chunk of work to organize a camp. On the other hand, the level of alignment and all of this is not as high, and the potential impact of it not going according to dreams is not as big as pulling somebody into your leadership team or whatever. So I think it's a great way to enable some young up and coming leaders in your group or community to have something they can deliver and focus on. Also, we're going to be running a camp incubator. So we'll be supporting these people. So give us the young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, lots of energy, some organization ability, and we'll help and support them to lead your camp.
Yeah. Thank you. I was about to obviously bring the camp incubation, which Sophia is a fairly one of the big differences between 2024 and 2022. As we're growing, we really have the intention of, as Victor said, supporting the camp building process. So we've done quite a lot of work and will continue to do quite a lot of work to really support that. And in very practical terms, what that means is that we're creating camp info packs with pre-made templates for everything from your camp theme to your camp program to your budgeting, so on and so forth. We are organizing a whole schedule between January and August of online meetings, which will be there to already connect camps between one another, to make sure that the new camps can speak to the old camps like Gaianet and get their knowledge, to share ideas for you to understand what will be valuable to bring to the gathering for you, right? As Idania Nova or Garden of Life, but also how you can really like pull from all those people and those projects that will be at the gathering in a way that is the most fruitful to your project. So yes, for sure, it will take some work and some organization to design this. But what we really hope is that this is not something that will take you away from what you're doing in your day-to-day life for your project. In the opposite, it's the same. So as you're thinking about what content you bring to the gathering, you should be thinking about what content you bring out into the world in general, right? As you think about who is your target audience, this is the same as your usual target audience. So it's sort of this incubator or accelerator that allows you to rethink your whole project or to go more in depth, but at smaller scale with our support. You don't need to think about all the infrastructure and so on because we've got this sorted. So the only thing you need to think about is your own alignment with your current strategy and how you can kind of move that forward. So again, yes, there is some work, but yeah, it should actually support you rather than be this additional to-do list.
And do you need to bring people to come into your camp and others?
Yeah, the idea is that we invite the key players that we know that we think would be beautiful camp builders, and then we leave it to you to invite the people who you think should be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it goes the other way as well. If I meet someone and I'm like, wow, this should really be part of the Idania Nova camp because they have the same vision on this and that, then I'll put them in touch with you, right? For example. Yeah.
Idania Vida.
Idania Vida.
Idania Nova is a town.
Sorry, Idania Vida. We're looking at a land in Idania Nova, so I'm getting confused.
So since we're actually, there's so many Idanias, what does Idania mean?
Idania is an ancient name, comes from the word Egitania, which was a Roman settlement.
So it
yeah.
was the name for a Roman settlement.
Yeah, I don't know the origin of Egitania itself, but Idania Velha was an old settlement in Portugal. It was a passing area for people going to Spain, Merida, to other places. And it was very important in the Roman time because it was also the headquarters of the diocese, which at that time, having the headquarters of a diocese in your town meant everybody would go there. And it was a connection place, like a hub.
Thank you.
Okay, I think everyone has to go on time and we're 3 minutes over. I'm just going to stop recording.